Well, friends, it finally happened. Wilk here to let you know I have COVID-19 this week, and I am not going to be able to put out a fresh episode. Just wanted to drop in, say thank you so much for the support. I am going to run a replay of the episode 65, where I interviewed Patti Robinson of Project Delta. Now, Project Delta is a phenomenal organization here in the state of Minnesota. They pair service dogs with, actually, let me clarify, they're not just service dogs, they are rescue dogs that become service dogs. So they pair those incredible service animals with veterans and first responders suffering from PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and the like. And they just do some phenomenal work over there, an incredible organization. There's actually another benefit ride coming up here in a couple weeks on June 18th up here in Minnesota. Thanks to the Order of Ronin Motorcycle Club. You might remember them, talked about them in past episodes as well. So again, sorry, not a fresh episode, but a great episode, a very important episode. And if you want to find out more about that organization, Project Delta, or you want to find out more about that ride coming up on June 18th, 2022, just check out the show notes. And other than that, thank you so much for joining me. So grateful as always. So grateful for all the support every week. That said, my friends, let's get to it. Welcome back, my friends, to the D-Rate the Hate podcast. I am Wilk from wilksworld.com, and this is going to be episode 65. In this week's episode, I had the opportunity to sit down with Patti Robinson, founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Project Delta, that selects, trains, and places rescue dogs with veterans suffering from things like PTSD and various other things that they've suffered on the battlefield. Very cool organization, and I love getting the opportunity to talk with people like Patti who are out there bettering the world. That is what the D-Rate the Hate podcast is all about. We did not create the hate, but with your help, we can derate the hate. So what have you done today to make your life a better life? What have you done today to make the world a better place? Patti Robinson and the folks over at Project Delta are doing just that. Doing great things to make the world a better place. I'm so glad my cousin and her boyfriend Dee from Order of Ronin Motorcycle Club, who have a charity ride coming up for Project Delta here in a couple weeks here in the state of Minnesota. And I'm very glad that I got an opportunity to meet Patti. You're definitely going to want to check out this interview because we get a chance to talk a little bit more, find out more about Project Delta and how that works. And then, of course, get to find out about the upcoming event on July 24th out of Lakeville, Harley-Davidson, here in the state of Minnesota. So stick around. You don't want to miss it. All right. Patti Robinson from Project Delta. Thank you for joining the D-Rate the Hate podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, Patti. So we became introduced by my cousin and her friend Dee from Order of the Ronin Motorcycle Club. And they have an upcoming ride on July 24th to benefit Project Delta. And they thought, at the D-Rate the Hate podcast, I'm all about bettering the world, one attitude at a time. I'm always looking for people that are doing great things to better the world for other people. And when I read about Project Delta and the things that you've got going on over there, I thought I definitely want to talk to Patti. So I'm very glad that you're joining me today. And what I would like you to do is explain what Project Delta is for the people who may not know, and how you became involved with, or how the Project Delta organization came to be.
Sure. So we are a service dog organization that utilizes primarily the rescue and shelter world of animals. We extensively screen them, then we pair them with veterans that have multiple diagnoses such as PTSD, traumatic brain injury, MST, which is military sexual trauma, along with physical disabilities. we pair those two together and they train as a team and become a service dog team. We've just recently, by board approval, brought in our first retired police officer and our first retired firefighter as well. That was always something that I wanted to do from the very beginning, but decided it was most important to kind of get a process down, to get a program outline down, get good at that niche, and then expand accordingly. This all started back in, honestly, the first thought of it was back in 2014 when I was just very randomly introduced to the concept, literally on a news station. And I couldn't even tell you, it was an interview with another organization that was doing the same thing. I was involved in rescue and I was involved in shelters as a volunteer. And I knew that there was something unique and special about these dogs, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And I'll be honest, that particular organization down in New Mexico is what piqued my interest and got me, looking into that possibility. My husband is retired Army and children in the military. My father was a World War II veteran. And so I saw some transitional holes when working as a wife and a mother on the backsides of the military. And I saw those holes. And when introduced to that concept from someone else that was doing it, I kind of went, okay, I think this is what my intention, I think this is what my mission needs to be. I'm a nurse by trade and have been for over 30 some years. So I didn't even know what a 501c3 was.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that when starting this, we're talking naive, zero idea.
So it was completely grassroots, had no idea how to get this thing started. You just knew it was going to be your mission. It was your calling to do this because of your family's background in the military.
And the love of the dog. So totally grassroots, no idea. Literally had to look up what a nonprofit versus a for-profit was. Literally I didn't know the legalities behind it, the process behind it, and how to even begin. So just dug in, and I probably spent the first couple of years just learning how to do that before launching.
So very cool.
Yeah, truth be told, that particular organization in New Mexico afforded me the opportunity to come to a workshop and spend time with them to be able to see what they do. They wanted to do a program up here, so they wanted me to franchise off of them. I was very lucky to have some incredible people that I worked with high up in the healthcare system that I work for. Actually, the CEO of Park Nicollet Methodist Hospital at the time offered to meet with me.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty wonderful, to be honest. And he basically told me, hey, listen, you can do this on your own. You can do this on your own, and franchising is not necessary. And he was very instrumental on kind of pushing me to do it. So I stepped back from that process. That probably would have given me a lot of intellectual property, but it also would have taken a really long time to get going.
Sure.
Because of my financial obligations to them as a franchise. And I just didn't want to do that.
Okay, so talk about the process then, Patti. How does that work with taking a rescue dog? Because I know, my wife and I rescued a dog recently, that came out of Texas. But talk about how you take the rescue dog and turn that into a companion animal that is really a service dog for somebody who is suffering. Because we obviously know and I think everybody at this point has heard that there's a very real problem out there with the military veterans that are facing serious PTSD issues and how important it is these service animals are to the military veterans. And now, as you said, getting into the first responders and the police and the firefighters. Talk about that process. How does that work to take a rescue animal and, the complete unknowns of a rescue, and then take that rescue animal and turn it into a functional and adequate animal for a service companion for a military veteran or first responder? How's that work?
So we have partnerships with a couple rescues in particular in the Twin Cities, and being that we're starting, our name is out there and such, it's not uncommon for somebody to reach out, whether that they'll reach out that they think they have a dog that could potentially be one of these dogs. First and foremost, the dogs, the rescues that I work with have a general idea of what we're looking for in a dog. We're looking for dogs that are very confident. We're looking for dogs that have drive. And what I mean by drive is they can be motivated by food. They can be motivated by toys. They can be motivated by praise, but they're also very dog neutral. Mm-hmm. And so those are three, the really big things. We need drive. We need neutrality. And just kind of an easygoing temperament. You can still take a really crazy dog and you can mold it into an amazing service animal if they have drive and they have desire to work. So that's really important. So when those dogs become available to us, I have an unbelievable trainer, and bringing on another person that's just an unbelievable trainer that has been doing this for a long time and recognizes these traits. So we just take them and evaluate them. And there's some rules that go with dogs that are in the rescue world, and it's called the rule of 3. You take a dog in that setting, and it takes about 3 days to bring a dog into a home setting. And they go, okay, I can be here despite whatever my background is, and I'm cool with it. And then you have about 3 weeks into a dog being with someone for the dog to go, okay, I'm staying here. And I'm not moving. And then it takes about 3 months for the true characteristics of the dog to come forward. And at that 3-month mark is when you have a general idea of what you're working with and what you're going to get. That way we have it. And that's where we need fosters. And that's where the dogs are either in the foster world of the rescue, or we bring them into our own world and take them in. I've had dogs, my trainers have had dogs. We have a couple really amazing fosters, but they're different fosters. They're not just providing a home and shelter and food and love. These are people that are going to work with us to help us determine in a rather quick fashion whether or not it's a dog we want to stay in the program. Mm-hmm. That's not easy. That is actually Project Delta's number one issue. That's our biggest obstacle, is bringing people into this world that can make commitment to the dog and to the program. It's not easy. It's a part-time job. You also have to be able to keep those dogs kind of separated from your own dogs. So it's a lot of work. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, anybody coming into that, I've learned to be very transparent about it. That's our number one issue right there. Getting strong fosters that are looking to the mission. Mm-hmm. How can I help get to that part of the mission? Mm-hmm. And be committed to that. Once that part occurs, you have the other side. You have the demographic that is where I vetted very closely a veteran that wants to come into the program. Because truth be told, everybody wants a service dog.
Right.
Everybody thinks that's a wonderful thing and will benefit them. Mm-hmm. Do you need a service dog first and foremost? Mm-hmm. Or do you just want a service dog?
Right.
Get a diagnosis, because I have to be truthful. This is not a pet.
Right. No, this is a working. Yeah,
a working dog, and it's a working dog, and that also provides a lot of love and security and support. However, when the day is done, the training and everything that goes into this is a working animal. So you have to look at it from the same standpoint as a search and rescue dog, a military working dog, a bomb sniffing dog, drug sniffing dog. All of these things, they are task trained. And that's where, when you say companion, yes, but no. These are animals that are working with these human beings to mitigate diagnoses by performing tasks, but they're also just, they're chill, and they have to be able to focus 100% on the human versus all the distractions in the world. that the human's going to put them through.
Right.
So even though that veteran or first responder is going to go out into the public, the reality is that focus needs to be on the human. It can't be distracted by other humans. It can't be distracted by other dogs. Now, it is also a bridge between, that's my big thing, is I want the dogs to be a bridge between the veteran and the outside world by showing the veteran, or let's call him the handler, that social graces are acceptable. That when people come up to you and they want to say, wow, you have a beautiful, well-behaved dog, tell me about it. That they don't turn around and they're not an asshole to that human.
Right.
Say, don't talk to me. Don't talk to my dog.
Mm-hmm.
There's a balance there.
Yep. I think we've all, I don't know about, I think we've all, but I know I've seen a number in recent years. I've seen a number of the dogs. They have the vest on. The dog is healing very close to the leg of an obvious veteran or somebody who's experienced trauma. I guess I can't say they're all veterans, but the dog's got that vest on, and the vest clearly says, "I'm working. Don't touch me," or some variation of that. And I think that's very cool. And it's incredible to see the focus that those animals have. I can't get my dog focus, to focus, especially our new rescue. We call her Crazy Daisy, but it can't get her to focus on anything long enough to even, get through a full sentence, let alone. So the work that must go into getting these dogs trained for such a high level, intense job has to be absolutely incredible. How long does it take, just the training aspect of it, Patti? How long does that take to get an animal on board with doing that job at a high level?
So the animal is the easy part.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The animal is easy. Any issues that you have with the animal, that can be turned around in a hot second. The issue is with the handler.
Okay.
So the reality is, that's why I said not everybody can do this. And if you need it, and it is recommended by your mental health provider, if you are committed to it, you can move along in this process extremely fast. 9 months.
Okay.
Or less. I have a team right now on board that'll probably finish in 6 months, because that's how dedicated he is to the dog. And I don't mean you have to put aside 6-8 hours of your day to do this, because the life of a dog in training, life is training.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in their world can be a training moment. So it's getting the handler to understand that life for their dog is a training moment. And so that's why they're, for lack of better words, they're tethered for a very long time. There's needs and wants of a dog. All needs of the dog are always by the handler. And they are literally leashed to them at all times, so that as they're doing things, they're going to look to the handler as their highest resource. We hand feed. Handlers hand feed through the day. So whatever the total amount of food is that the dog is receiving is in training pouches for the handler. And as they're living life and doing their thing, they're receiving their food. They don't work. They don't get fed, and they learn very quickly who their resource is. The wants of a dog to be pet and things like that, slowly you can incorporate, a husband, a wife, a child, but it always has to be that handler that the dog is going to look to for everything, because you don't know at any given time when PTSD or a result of why they need the dog is going to rear its ugly head. So you need to have the dog focused on them, not in a anxiety provoking way, but in a sense that they can be laying quietly at a restaurant, but they can recognize, but something's up. And they come to it. And that is, there's science behind that. It's repetition after repetition after repetition of training. However, there is science behind it with chemicals.
Okay.
With human beings, produce chemicals that dogs sense and they smell and they hear. Their senses are so incredibly more advanced than ours that they can actually sense our heart rate's going up, our blood pressure's going up, producing cortisol, spilling. That's a very big deal for anybody that has trauma, that has the results of just being in everyday life. Their cortisol levels are way higher than the average person. So the dog recognizes that, and we train off of that.
That's so incredible. Yeah. I mean, I know I've read things now where there are dogs that are trained for people who have epileptic seizures. They can sense when a seizure is coming on, or, people with, different health conditions, seizures, heart attack. Yep.
Diabetes is a big one. We actually have one of our dogs that is working with his handler, who is very symptomatic with a blood sugar that you and I wouldn't normally. An average diabetic wouldn't be that symptomatic. So the training that's going into this dog is to recognize that blood sugar significantly higher before he becomes symptomatic. And that's
so incredible.
It is. And he's being trained to recognize that, and they smell the ketones. It's mind blowing what they do. So the dog is easy because you make it fun. And the reward is positive reinforcement with food, with praise, with those things. So the dog is going to do what it needs to do. They want.
It's almost just developing the tools that are already within the dog naturally.
Absolutely.
And that is so cool. That is so incredible.
Dogs, and that's where the drive comes into it. So you can, you have drive and you have neutrality, and you just have a nice balanced personality. It helps. Certain breeds are clearly better at it than others, but you can't disqualify the potential in a dog just based on its breed. And so we have a full Staffordshire Pit Bull that is a head that's like this. amazing service dog. So I don't breed disqualify at all, or discriminate rather. But there's just clearly some that are better at it than
sure
towards those.
Yeah, I mean, that's just to be expected. I mean, there's certain animals, certain it's just the way that it works, and
exactly.
So that's so cool. So tell me about how Project Delta and Order of Ronin kind of teamed up. How did you guys become familiar with each other? And then let's talk a little bit about the ride that's coming up out of I think it's Lakeville Harley Davidson on the 24th of July. So that'll be a week or two after this episode airs. But yeah, talk about them and how you guys became familiar with each other.
I tell you, bikers love veterans. Veterans are bikers. Bikers love to give. And that's just a fact. And when Donovan contacted me and told me that he wanted to do this and had scoured and I'm always amazed at how people find me, because we didn't know each other from Adam. Oh, your name is Adam. We honestly did not know each other at all. And when he reached out and we had a conversation, it was just it was really easy. There's nothing I love to do more than anything is to talk about this and to bring people and to educate people on this, just even if it means educating them on, if you see a service dog, be respectful. Be respectful of its handler, but then also not sugarcoating that this is not a pet and the hours and hours and hours of time that goes into this. But we are a little bit different in the sense that our veterans and dogs train together. It helps build the bond. They are going to, you're not going to see perfection immediately. I think that I love being transparent about, the things that haven't worked and what has worked. And I think that when people want to support a nonprofit, they want to know that, guess what you're seeing is not perfection. You can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram, you can see all this perfection out there. Well, I like to show all the stuff, because then people know that where their efforts are going is not perfection immediately. And it's supporting two demographics. And I think Donovan and his crew really, they liked that. And then they asked, hey, can we come watch? And I'm like, hell yeah. come watch, come see them, because then it's real. So we invited them up to the nest, the Eagles Healing Nest, which is a partnership that, oh gosh, I think we have 7 active teens right now that have come out of the nest, along with a veteran at the nest that fostered for us, which is a really cool story. And Melanie Butler, who founded and has been running the nest for a very, very long time, allows us to come up there and utilize her space to train. So she and I have developed a wonderful relationship. She houses veterans anywhere from 80 to 100 at a time that have been homeless. They're in transition. They're getting out of treatment of sorts. They're moving here from other states to try and get established. She and I we've partnered because she has veterans there that can benefit from this program. So I said, Donovan, come up. And he brought up a huge group of his people, including Samantha, up to see it. So they got to watch training first. They got to talk to the veterans, like ask them questions. There's nobody that loves to talk about their dog more than their handler.
Oh, I can imagine.
They're proud of it. They're proud of the efforts. They're proud of the fact that they can have a conversation with somebody that they don't know, that they would have never done. Because I have said, this is social pleasantries, dudes. You talk to these people that are supporting you. Because the handlers don't pay for this service. People I know do. People I don't know pay for it. So we honor that by saying, come watch anytime. Come see anytime, ask questions anytime.
That's super cool. Yeah, we actually, my wife and I will be going on a motorcycle ride. We've been up to the Eagles Healing Nest before. We've been on rides that benefit the Eagles Healing Nest. And we were just up there, I believe. I can't remember. It may have been last year, may have been the year before. But we've been up there before. And it's an incredible organization. And the fact that you guys have been able, you and Mel have been able to partner in doing this and what you're doing for the veterans is incredible. I greatly appreciate that.
She's like my soul sister. And when things are just overloaded and stuff, she's my voice of reason. And so I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, no, that's
not just the space, the veterans, but for just for her friendship and her willingness to thicken my skin, if you will. She's had to do that. She's had to help me thicken that skin. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and that's not an easy road at all. I mean, there's so much that goes into that, and
so many layers.
Yep, and for these, for these veterans that have done so much and given so much and sacrificed so much and lost parts of themselves on the battlefield, both mentally and physically, and just being able to give back to them and being able to do these great things to make them feel whole again. And it's incredible what you're doing, Patti. And I'm incredibly grateful for it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are incredibly grateful for folks like yourself that are doing these great things. And the fact that you've tied your love to animals, or love with animals and your love for the military and our veterans and our country, the fact that you've been able to tie that all together into a package and do a lot of good with that. Like I talk about on the D-Rate to 8 podcast all the time, I always ask people, what have you done today to make your life a better life? What have you done today to make the world a better place? It is so incredibly important that people find that passion that they have and turn it into a way to not only make your life better as an individual, but in turn, it makes the world a better place. And there's just way too many people out there that aren't doing that. They'll look at something and they'll just sit around and they'll either complain about it or they complain about other people. They just don't take that passion that's within them. They don't look for the things within them and take it to a point of fruition, take it to a level that you're actually doing good for the world. And what you're doing is absolutely awesome, Patti. And I want to thank you personally for that. That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that if you just step outside of your comfort zone. And it can be once a month, it can be once a year, doing something, whether it's monetarily with, financially supporting someone or volunteering with something. I tell you, it's science and it's chemicals, and it improves your well-being by simply stepping out of your comfort zone and seeing, because it's addicting. Mm-hmm. It really is. When you see the improvement, and we're starting to bring veterans that don't need a dog. They don't need a dog, but they want to help one of their fellow veterans by fostering for them. And we have that process going on right now, where we had a veteran that took a young dog that was potential, worked incredibly hard to get that dog up to par to pair with a veteran that lost his leg, where the whole beginning part of our process would have been such a challenge for Eric, where we eliminated that part, but it was a veteran. Prior to it, it was a couple of our other veterans, but we moved that dog along, and it ended up, his last foster was a veteran. And it was really, really cool to see him hand that dog off to a fellow veteran, mm-hmm. and know that he partook in something that was going to change that life. And that is our goal. We also have the desire to look at, we all know what's going on in all around the country, and in Minneapolis, it's so prevalent, and that is the issues with law enforcement, or what people perceive are the issues with law enforcement. We can always do better in process. There's no doubt we can always look at current process. I'm 100% understand that, having to shift myself. So can we do better? Sure. But my personal opinion is that when you want to revamp law enforcement and the way things work, they're not looking at the big picture. Mm-hmm. And that mm-hmm. is looking at how our first responders being failed as they are doing their job. Mm-hmm. Veterans work, when they've been deployed and they've had maybe even multiple deployments. Yes, that was trauma. That was so difficult to handle. And then they came home and were debriefed. And it's not a perfect science for them coming back by any means. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of room for improvement. Hence why, people like myself and Mel do what we do. But with law enforcement, I've really learned that is something day in and day out. And I don't think people are really quick to judge police officers and their actions mm-hmm. without having any understanding of the day-to-day grind that gets them there, and the lack of processes that support them. So if you want to fix law enforcement, you need to actually look at the systems failed and improve that. And that's the other piece that I want to do with the dogs, is finding a way into that system to help, along with working with prisons to foster our dogs. Mm-hmm. So what a better way to bridge police reform than having inmates fostering dogs and having recipients of dogs that were police officers to all come together and say, hey, we got to fix some things, and let's bring the two sides together and do it. It's always a commonality, the dog, every time.
That's awesome.
Every single time.
I think you're on the right track. I think you're doing awesome things.
I hope so.
Yeah, I just love it. I love it. One of the reasons I love doing this podcast so much is because of the opportunity I get. I learned a lot here today. I learned a lot about the process of the service dogs. One of the things, like I said, I just love getting to meet people like yourself, Patti, who are actually out there doing great things to better the world. You've got a mission, you've got a goal, you've got a calling, and you've taken it to fruition. You're making things happen and making lives better, and in turn making the world better. So I definitely want to thank you for that. I thank you for joining me on the Derate the Hate podcast, and I look forward to hearing and seeing more about what you're doing and what you've got coming up.
Are you going to be on that ride?
That's the plan. That's the plan. We plan to be there on the 24th down there in Lakeville. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Now, then you get to meet one of our teams, so they'll be there.
That'll be awesome as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Friends, another great conversation with a great guest. I got to tell you, I hope you like hearing about things like Project Delta as much as I do. Getting to meet people like Patti is certainly one of the highlights of getting to do this podcast. I just love the passion people have for the things that they're doing. When they're out there taking their passion, turning it into a mission, taking their calling and turning it into something to better the world like Patti is with Project Delta. Obviously, combining that with the support of our military veterans, our first responders, firemen, police, EMTs, things like that. Such an incredibly important thing that we have to do for just for bettering the world, bettering our society. People like Patti are a true treasure in this world, and it's certainly a pleasure and something I'm incredibly grateful for. That's right, friends. So incredibly grateful for people like Patti Robinson, organizations like Project Delta, motorcycle clubs like Order of Ronin Motorcycle Club here in the state of Minnesota that put on events like this. All those people bettering the world one attitude at a time, bettering the world in so many ways, and I appreciate it. Again, this was a replay. I appreciate you here. I appreciate you being here. So grateful for that as always. Check out the show notes if you want to find out more about the ride coming up here on June 18th, 2022. Thanks again, friends. Friends, I just want to say again how very, very grateful that I am that you took the time to join me for another D-Rate the Hate podcast episode. Please share us with your friends, share us with your network. If you haven't done so already, subscribe and talk your friends into doing the same. Feedback and ratings, wherever you get your audio, always greatly appreciated. And with that, I will just say get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. Friends, if there was anything in this episode that provided exceptional value to you, I would love to hear about it. Email me, wilk@wilksworld.com, or hit me up on most social media platforms. With that, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week. Take care.